I am just going to eliminate the little script that I had. I'm going to riff on this podcast. So here we go. If you don't know my story, we're gonna dive deep into a little synopsis here, and I'm just gonna kind of share with you over the last few years of my journey of how I got to where I am today and where we're going. I'm gonna take you back, I don't know, I think it's like 6 years ago at this point. I was in the corporate world, working in finance, climbing that corporate ladder, and I remember just being in that corporate career and realizing that it is not what I wanted to do. I felt like I kind of got bamboozled, and I didn't really have any dreams of being an entrepreneur or working for myself. I always envisioned myself working in a company, climbing the corporate ladder, getting that corner office, wearing high heels and like power suits to work. And I'm so far from that now, but that's kind of what I always envisioned myself. And I remember just working these really, really long hours, being completely addicted to Adderall. This is my story and my journey. I'm just going to be real raw and transparent with you. Taking Adderall every single day just to even get through the days, get through work. I remember looking at my bosses and my boss's bosses, and they were all exhausted and all tired, and they always had dark circles under their eyes, and they weren't necessarily taking care of their health and barely seeing their families or taking vacations. And I just remember thinking, that is not the life that I want to live. And that's my future, right? If I'm climbing this corporate ladder, that would be my future. And I just remember thinking like, is this it? Is this what life is going to be like until I can retire? And I was just so unfulfilled in that corporate career. I know that some of you like your jobs and you love your career. And for me, the job itself and the people that I worked with, they're all good people and they cared about you, and the company was a great company. But I just remember feeling so unfulfilled in my work. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. I wasn't excited. I remember every Sunday night when I would do my laundry, I would just get like this pit in my stomach and this anxiety about going back into work on Monday. And I just remember I was like, there has to be more to life than this. I didn't know what that looked like. I had no background in business, no background in entrepreneurship, and no social media platform at all. Didn't even know how to record a video or take a photo. Like, I had zero experience when it came to marketing, social media, building, any of that. Zero. It didn't even cross my mind that I could use social media at all. What I did realize was that I was like, I need to get off this Adderall. Like, that was first and foremost the thing that I needed to do. And I will link the past podcast episodes where I talk about my whole Adderall journey, because that's a whole different episode in and of itself. But getting off the Adderall to me was my first step in getting clarity in what I wanted to do. Long story short, I got off the Adderall. It was the hardest week of my entire life. I will link the podcast episode below so you guys can go listen to that whole journey, because it's a whole thing. Within that week, I started to really start to care for my body. I started eating lots of green vegetables and healthy foods. I was working out every single day just to get energy that I didn't have anymore from the Adderall. I started to become like really excited about this new iteration of my life, this new era of actually taking care of my body and using food as fuel and movement as motivation and all of this stuff. But I was like, how do I even start a business like this? I'm not a fitness professional. I don't want to go back to school, to get like a kinesiology degree or something like that. So I was like, I don't know how I would even use this passion as a career. I have no experience. I have no money to start that. Like, I was still just, making good money, but like I didn't have tens of thousands of dollars sitting around to just invest in school or anything like that. A week after I quit Adderall, and I was just really gaining a lot of clarity and motivation and becoming more passionate about just fitness and health and wellness and all of that stuff, I saw this post on social media by my coach that I signed up with, and she was actually a Beachbody coach at the time. Long story short, I signed up. Like, I was like, how can I pay you? How can I sign up? It was the cheapest initial investment ever. And I started building my business. I no longer do that anymore, but that was what got me started. I started learning things like social media, branding, storytelling, how to record myself on camera. I was surrounded by a community. I also started learning more about personal development. I really didn't know anything about personal development and taking care of your mindset, but through this community, I learned all of those things. So I was building this business, my Beachbody business, on the side of my corporate job for 2 years. I was building it on the side. I was hitting a lot of milestones. I was making a lot of additional income. And it was, honestly, it was exhausting, but I felt like I was growing a lot. I was learning a lot, and I was surrounding myself with the right people and the right mindset. And I got to this point after 2 years where there was only so much I could do between 8 and 10 p.m. every single day, and I needed more time to build and scale that business. And I was making decent money, but it wasn't matching my income. So I put together a savings plan over 6 months. I was like, in 6 months, I'm going to take that leap and I'm going to go all in. After 6 months, I took the leap and I went full time into my Beachbody business. And I was doing that for a couple years. There was like a lot of times where it was terrifying and scary and uncertain, but I was just learning so much along the way and developing my skills and building myself on social media, learning how to build out courses and programs and all of this stuff. And so I found it very fulfilling and rewarding until I didn't. And I hit this point in that business where I just was feeling burnt out. I was feeling like it was not the end all be all for me. And I knew that going in. I knew that it wasn't going to be the end all be all. I knew it was a stepping stone to get to somewhere else, but I didn't know where that somewhere else was. I had no idea. And I remember I started getting into shuffling and dancing. I just started posting and sharing my journey online as I was like shuffling and dancing, and then COVID hit. And I continued to share my shuffling and dancing and all of that stuff through COVID, and my social media started to grow. It started to gain traction. And I think it really started to gain traction because I was truly in my joy and I was having fun. And people could feel that energy, like people can feel that passion and that joy. It's a real thing, energy is a real thing. And my social medias, my TikTok, my Instagram, everything kind of started to take off. Also, I'm sure it helped that everyone was on their phones and no one was out doing anything. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with the growth, but I choose to believe that it was an energy thing. You know what I'm saying? I got reached out to by a talent scout for America's Got Talent to go on to America's Got Talent and audition for it. And so I put together a team for shuffling and we sent an audition tape. We got into the live audition rounds and into the quarterfinals of America's Got Talent. While that was happening, I was still slightly building up my social media platform and trying to work my Beachbody business. But I was taking more and more of a step away from my Beachbody business and really only showing up because I needed the paychecks, not because it was something that fueled me anymore. I kind of lost the passion and I was burnt out from it. But I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have any backup plan. I had no alternatives. I was like spreading myself thin in so many different areas. And I did a human design reading. One of my friends recommended this girl. She's like, you need to do this thing called human design. And she did a whole reading, like a whole hour-long reading for me. It basically validated everything that I was feeling, but I was scared to make a pivot or a shift because I couldn't see the whole puzzle picture. But I knew what I was doing was not working for me anymore. And the lack of clarity of what was next scared me. But I knew I was so excited and happy with social media and growing my social media and building that community on the internet and dancing. I just had no idea how to monetize that. Like that to me was just not, I was like, I don't even know how brand deals or any of that works. And after that human design reading, I decided, I was like, I am going to take a step away and step back from my Beachbody business and just go all in with social media. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how I'm going to monetize it, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out because it's what brings me joy and it's what excites me. And that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to follow the things that excite me and bring me joy. I just leaped and I went all in. I sent an email to all my clients and my team and I told them I was taking a step back. I think they kind of felt that and they knew that, but sending that email made it real. It made it real in my business that I was taking a step back from that and pursuing other things. And that month, like within weeks, I had a video go viral, like completely viral after I made that decision, after I sent that email. And just blew up. It blew up the internet. I hit 1 million followers on TikTok within a couple weeks of sending that email. And that to me was that little sign from the universe that I was taking the step in the right direction. Even though I was like, I don't even know what the right direction is, that validated my decision. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go all in. And I just held on to that, and I believed that I was making the right decision, even though I had absolutely no clarity what the hell I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I jumped all in. I started getting more and more brand deals, bigger deals. I started getting money that I didn't even know existed in this industry. I was like, wow, this is insane. Later on, a few months later, I signed with my amazing agent. The snowball effect was real. This was in 2021, like the snowball effect. And this was in May when I sent that email. So between May and December, like every month, like new stuff was growing, new stuff was coming in. I remember I started getting bigger and bigger deals, especially in the holiday season. I got repeat brand deals from clients. And I was just like, dang, this is amazing. And we started making way more income doing this than I was even in my corporate career Beachbody business. Like on a monthly basis, I was making more money doing this. I remember when things started to open up and Garrett was talking about going back to bartending, I was like, I don't even think you need to go back to bartending. We decided that at that point to just work together as a team, and I was able to retire him from that industry, which I'm so freaking grateful for. And in 2022, like I went all in with this. And I was already all in, but I mean, I started taking it very seriously, very professionally. I started learning more skills, developing more community. I started focusing on YouTube and building that out. And in 2022 was my first full year doing social media, influencer content creation full time. And we crossed over the 100K, a good amount over the 100K mark in our first year in business, which I was stoked about. Well, I'm very grateful for what we made, and it's able to fund our lifestyle. Like it only goes, so far in Santa Monica. So I'm continuing to grow and scale and branch out and diversify my income and all of that stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, is like looking how I can grow and how can I scale and how can I diversify things and bring in more income and not just rely on brand deals, because as we all know, everything's always changing and always evolving. Now that I'm in this place, I wanted to relaunch this podcast. I was doing this podcast 2 years ago, right before I made the decision to actually go full time with social media, is kind of when I started to end this podcast. And I didn't know if I was ever going to return to it, honestly. But I just felt this deep calling over the last 6 months to come back and make it a video podcast, along with the audio versions, obviously, because I just felt this calling over the last 2 years. I have grown so much. I have learned so much. I have evolved so much. And I wanted to share everything that I've learned. And I wanted to go deep with you guys. I wanted to have a place, like a safe place where we could really go deep on things that I am truly passionate about. And one of those things that has really caught my interest and my attention, and I'm putting a lot of focus in, is social media, entrepreneurship, online business, the influencer marketing space, all of that stuff, like how to monetize your social media, how to grow your social media, and all of that. That's something that like just really excites me. And I'm learning a lot about it. I'm executing a lot of things. I guess I want to tie into like the vision of this podcast and where I want to go, because I know a lot of you found me through dancing, through shuffling, or through Bonbon, my dog. And I just want you guys to know, well, Bonbon is my whole life, but like shuffling, although I love it, it's one aspect of me. And there's so much more that I want to share with you guys, and I want to talk about, and I want to expand on, and I want to help you, and I want to empower you. And the whole point of this podcast is to empower you and remind you that it's never too late to pivot. We always evolve and we always change. And sometimes change is really scary, or you feel like it's too late for you, or you feel like you're not ready. And newsflash, you're never gonna feel ready. I didn't even feel ready recording this podcast episode, you guys, at all. Like I was just terrified to hit record and start. So the way I envision this podcast going forward is I'm going to bring on some dope humans that inspire me. Some amazing women that are crushing it in social media and business and personal growth and mindset and habits and all of that stuff. We're going to have some really deep and meaningful conversations, high vibe conversations, and I'm going to bring you guys in. and let you hear in the background all of the stuff that I get to learn and share with you. And obviously we're going to do some solo episodes as they come up. And I really want to hear from you. I want you to kind of gauge the direction of this podcast. That's the plan. That's the idea. That's the mission. We're learning as we're going, but I wanted to get started before I was ready. I wanted to get started before I had a plan. I wanted to just start dropping episodes before I really even knew what the rest of it looked like. And I want to take you along the way, along with all of the lessons, all the hardships, and all the failures and successes. You know, hopefully we get some of those along the way too. So if you're excited and you like this podcast and you want to leave a review or you want to leave a comment or share it, like, subscribe, please do all the things that you feel called to do so this podcast can grow and it can reach the people that need to hear it. I appreciate all of your guys' support, and I will see you next time.